नगेन्द्र संघपवये योगीन्द्र वन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्त दिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभिधाम् बिभ्रते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततम् पूर्णाय बोधात्मने ओम। ब्रह्माहं यत्प्रसादेन मयि विश्वं प्रकल्पितम् श्रीमत्स्वयं प्रकाशाख्यं प्रणौमि जगतां यः परमात्मा जगत् सृष्ट्वा प्रविवेश पुनः स्वयं तं कृष्णं प्रत्यगात्मानं वन्दे गोपी मनोहरम् यस्य प्रसादादहमद्वयात्मा विश्वं समस्तं मयि कल्पितं च तं सर्वलोकैकगुरुं सदाश्री स्वयं प्रकाशं गुरुमानतोऽस्मि गुरूणां चरणां भोज प्रणिपत्य निरन्तरं तत्कृपालेशतो द्वैत चिन्ताकौस्तुभमारभेयो। In answering the question, what is Maya? We got introduced to two more words, and those were Chetana and Achetana. How did these words come to us? So, in the definition of Maya, it was said, Yathar Rajatadi Shuktyadau Kalpitam Tatha Chetane Achetanam Kalpitam. So, explaining Maya, first an example was provided. The example was of Shukti Rajatam, meaning of the silver in the shell. So now, the use of locative case, Shuktyadav, meaning in the shell. So what is the location where the silver is seen, experienced? So that the shell is the location where the silver is seen. Now it is also possible that there can be something on the shell or in the shell, correct? Because a locative case could be used to indicate both on or in. For example, you can say the pen is on the table, or you can say the cake is in the box. Now you see, box is the location where the cake is. Table is the location on which the pen is. So, Shuktyadav, in the Shukti, where is the silver? In the or on the shell. The thing is, the silver which is seen, which is experienced, is only an appearance, because there is no silver over there. The shell is not the silver. The shell did not transform into silver. The shell cannot transform into silver. It is a shell. And therefore, the location in which the silver is, we are able to find the absence of the silver. Silver is absent in the shell. It was not there in the past. It is not there even in the present. It will not be there in the future too. So there is an absolute absence, complete absence of silver in the shell. Atyantika abhavaha vartate, in the shell. So silver can be elsewhere. The absence of silver can be elsewhere. If the silver is real, let us say there is real silver in the market or in the silversmith's shop. Then there is silver over there, but there is absence of silver on my palm. Okay, so absence of silver also can be there in the same time existing along with silver. And that means that silver is real. Empirical reality is there associated with that silver. You can purchase it, you can sell it, you can lift it, you can weigh it, you can exchange it, so on and so forth. Every form of vyavahar, a transaction is possible with that silver. But with this silver, which is there in the shell, the silver is seen exactly where its absence is. Okay? So the absence of the silver and the silver are in the same location. The real, empirically real silver, the absence is there on my palm, but the silver is there in the silversmith's shop. In the shop, the silver is. It is not there on my palm. So absence of the silver and the silver can exist in the same frame of time. So now, if someone says, well, even when the absence and the silver, absence of the silver and the silver, if they can exist in the same frame of time, then the silver which is seen in the shell, its absence may be there in the same frame of time. The silver is also there in the same frame of time. How does that prove that the silver is only an appearance? It is not real. It is false. How does it prove? So we say, if, now pay attention to this, if the absence and the object. So the absence of that object, which is the object we are talking about presently, the silver. So the absence of silver and the silver, they may exist in the same frame of time, but when they are in the same location, then that goes to prove that the object is false, and it is seen with the silver. So it is not silver, it is only shell. So like that, now this achetanam, keep the word achetanam. Let us keep the word achetanam only. Let's not alter the word, or at this moment, let us not try to provide an English alternative word for the word achetanam. Let's keep it as it is. So, achetanam is found where? In the chetan. Is the chetan achetanam? No, it is not. Chetana is different from achetana, which means there is absence of achetana in chetana. But where is that achetana seen? In the chetana. And therefore now we have to say that whatever that achetana is an appearance. This appearance is called as Maya. This appearance is called as Maya. Okay. Now, if we have understood this much, we have been introduced to the word Chetana and Achetana. Yesterday we saw that explaining the word Chetana, the conscious being, it was said that this conscious being or Chetana means Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Satya, Paramananda, Ananta, Advayam. All these words we have seen. They go to define what is Chetana. Okay? What is Chetana? Remember, every word over here is important, because the words are used over here not so that there can be some, what do they call, some lyrics, or it can become some gayams, something that can be sung. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Jnanam Anantam Satyam Brahma, not for that reason. Every word over here has a function to perform. And therefore, when you know why that word has been employed over there, what is the function that word does, then you are able to extract everything from what is being spoken or what is being written. Nitya. Nitya means that which is timeless. Nitya. Shuddha. So now, when we are saying consciousness or the conscious being is Nitya, timeless, what is it? What is the function that it does? Because very often we mistake this conscious being for something which is time bound, like the ego. The ego is seen as something as a conscious being, as a conscious person, and therefore, but this ego is bound by time. It is born in time and it perishes in time. I'm not talking about ego of a person getting developed since childhood, infancy into adulthood and till the death. No, we are not talking. I'm not talking about that. I'm simply saying that the ego is available only in the waking state and the dream state. But this ego is absent in the deep sleep state. So the ego is bound by time because its absence is seen and sometimes its existence, presence is seen. Therefore, though we may understand, our present understanding about conscious being is that it is this ego, is also not permissible, because that what is the conscious being is said as to be nityam. So nitya, this word nitya has this function to do, perform. Nitya, timeless. Shuddha. Shuddha means that which is free from any contamination. What is contamination, or what can be called as impurity or some sort of pollution? It means presence of something which is not that object. For example, if you have a glass of water, pure water, and you put in a drop of pure milk, unadulterated milk, just a drop of it. Can you say now this is pure water, pure milk plus pure water? Can you now still say it is pure? No. Why? Because there is presence of something what is not water. So presence of something that is not it, the dual, that the duality. So shuddham means absence of anything other than it. Okay. So over here, shuddham means absence of duality. And so this is what is indicated by the word shuddha. Buddha. Buddha meaning self-illuminous over here. That which is illuminous. Okay. So it does not require any other source of illumination, and therefore, like, all the objects of this world are illumined by the Surya, Chandra, Tara, or electricity, by the sun or a moon, by the light of the sun, light of the moon, or light of the stars, or electric light, or even lightning sometimes. None of these lights, then okay, it may not be that, but we still are able to know certain things. Like hunger is also known, but hunger is not an object which is illumined by sun, moon, or anything, but hunger is illumined by the witness, by I alone illuminate, because I know. So I am the illumination. All right, you may be illuminating it, but what is it that the self, that illumines the self? So the objects are illumined by the senses. The senses are illumined by the mind. The mind is illumined by the buddhi, intellect. The intellect is illumined by the ego, and the ego is illumined by the atma, by the self. Then a question comes naturally. Let us take it one step behind. And what is it that the atma is illumined by? At this point, we say, no, Atma does not require any source of illumination. Why? Because Atma is self-illuminous. Okay? Is self-illuminous. And therefore, Buddha. Then Muktaha. Mukta means ever free, ever liberated. Is ever liberated. Nothing binds it. Oh, but then we find that I am bound at this moment. The binding, the bondage is that of ignorance. And whatever is projected by ignorance is not real. Like the snake on the rope, which is projected by the ignorance. Because since you do not know it is a rope, the snake is projected. So that what is projected by the ignorance is naturally what? It is not real. It is not real. So similarly, the bondage which is projected by ignorance is not real. Then what is real? If the bondage is not real, then Atma is already mukta, is liberated, and therefore mukta. Satya Paramananda Nanda Dvayam. Okay, so now this is the definition of Chetana. Then we have a question. As sir, you have told us, defined what is Chetanam, what is Chetana, but please tell us what is Achetana. So he said, Ajnanadi Jadajatam, the entire range of all the objects which are inert, which require another source of illumination. Well, then somebody is going to say, the objects of this world are illumined by the sun, and therefore, but sun is not illumined by any other star, may not be illumined by any other star. But sir, please tell us, if you did not have eyes, would you know what is a sun? In absence of these eyes, would the sun be illumined for you? No. And therefore, now over here, even this physical sun is something that is illumined by the Chakshurindriya. Therefore, Indriyas illumine the object, including the sun. Okay? But the Indriyas are illumined by the mind. Again, the mind is illumined by Buddhi, intellect. The intellect is illumined by Ahankar, by the ego, by the sense of that I am something, that sense of individuality. And even this individuality is illumined by the self. And therefore, all that is illumined, whatever is illumined is jadajatam, is inert. We are going, so inert in the sense, now you understand this. It is in contrast to consciousness. That what is not consciousness is what we are going to call as inert. Okay? Ajnanadi Jadajatam. So Jadajatam means the entire range, the total spectrum of all that is inert, of all that is insentient, that which requires another source of illumination is Jadam. So Jadajatam. And from where do we understand what, from where up to what? From where up to what is the range of this achetana? So we say right from ignorance to all the objects is what? Achetanam. Oh, now this is what your world is. Achetanam, ajnanadi jadajatam is achetanam. This achetana is something which is experienced, and it is experienced in the consciousness. Well, sir, we don't say that all this is experienced in the consciousness. Do we don't say it is experienced by the conscious being? Yes, experienced by the conscious being. But when you are saying experienced by the conscious being, that means you are actually associating the word conscious being with ego. You are making it synonymous with ego. And ego is not conscious being, appears to be the conscious being. Like the moon also appears to be the source of light. But moon is not the source of light. Moon only is the source of reflected light. Like that, this ego is also reflecting the illumination, and therefore illumines the buddhi in turn illumines the mind illumines the senses illumine the entire range of this objects in this world. Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, everything over here. So now, Ajnanadi Charajatam Achetanam is what? Is an object in the awareness, in the consciousness. And consciousness is that which does not require any illumination, because it is of the nature of illumination itself, does not require any. And therefore, that what is not consciousness is seen in the consciousness. Exactly like the Rajatam is seen in the Shuktika. Exactly like how the silver is in the shell. What is the status of that silver? The status of that silver is appearance. Like that. Now, that's why it takes a lot of courage to accept, to see this. That this Nayamatma Balahinena Labhyaha, this and all this, whatever is Jadajatam, Ajnanadi Jadajatam, is only an appearance in the self. Then, and what is real then? Like the Shuktika, which is the substratum that is real, the substratum over here, which is the consciousness, Chetana, is real. So that we will see further. But now presently, this Achetanam is seen in the Chetana. What is Achetanam? Beginning from ignorance up to all the objects which require a source of illumination. So, Ajnanadi Jadajatam. How can we say that in just precise words? What is Achetanam? Ajnanadi Jadajatam. Okay? Total range, Jatam. Then, sir, that is all okay. You have used yet another word, and that is Ajnanam, ignorance. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? काट रहा है. What do you mean by that? So, Ajnanam is defined as Trigunatmakam Sadasadbhyam Anirvachaniyam Bhavarupam Jnana Nivartyam. What all things? Four things go into defining the ignorance. Trigunatmakam. So, we are not saying Ajnanam is Sattvic. When you say it is Sattvic, Sattva, Raja and Tamo Guna, all these three constitute the very frame, the entire body of ignorance. This is, ignorance is having, because even whether it is Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna or Tamo Guna, all these three require illumination or not? Yes, sir, they do require. And therefore, even the Sattva Guna is also how? It is Achetana. And this Achetana Sattva Raja Tamo Guna is unmanifest, and therefore it is how? It is what we are going to call it as Ajnanam, ignorance. Trigunatmakam, ignorance is consisting of these three gunas. Then Sadasadbhyam Anirvachaniyam. We have seen that ignorance cannot be defined as something that is non-existent. Cannot be defined as something that is non-existent. Cannot be even defined as something which is real. Because if it is real, it cannot be refuted. Like, okay, now let us say there is this table, and you are going to say this, what is the reality of this table? If the table is made of wood, you are going to say wood is the reality of this table. If this table is made of metal, you will say that the reality of this table is the metal, aluminum or some, whatever it may be. That is the reality of the table, which means table, which is a name and a form with certain functionality, is an appearance in that metal or in that wood. You can change it, you can deconstruct it. Even when it is deconstructed, wood remains wood. Wood does not change into anything else if it is not table. Okay, you can deconstruct it. Even before the construction of the table, it is wood. When the table is constructed, it is still wood, and when it is deconstructed, knocked down, it is still wood. So now you are going to say the reality of this table is wood. So what is real? The table, the wood is real. Like that, you cannot even say ignorance is something that is real. Ignorance cannot be said as to be non-existent, like the Vandhyaputra or Shashashrimp. It cannot be. Then how is it? It is, and therefore, since it cannot be defined in these two terms, what is the status of that ajnanam? That it is sadasadbhyam anirvachaniyam. It cannot be defined as real. It cannot be even defined as non-existent. If it is non-existent, How can that be experienced? Because nobody experiences Shashashringa, the horn of a rabbit. Correct? Shashashringa is not is non-existent, and because of that, it cannot be even experienced. So Sadasadhyam Anirvachaniyam, like that, the ignorance, but the ignorance is experienced, and therefore you cannot give it the status of asat like that of Shashashringa. So cannot say that it is asat. You cannot say it is sat. You cannot say it is sat, because that ignorance will go away in wake of knowledge. If it is real, the knowledge does not destroy anything. Knowledge simply illumines whatever it is. But when the knowledge comes, ignorance goes away. And therefore, ignorance cannot be called as sat. Ignorance cannot be even called as asat. And with this, we will have to say, what is ignorance? Sat cannot be defined as sat, cannot be defined as asat. Sadasadbhyam anirvachaniyam. Don't be like that, There was this sadhu, the Bairagi sadhu. They are really good because they are very dedicated, but they have no orientation of the studies, etc. Okay, they are virakta. They really live a life of total, non-possessiveness. But so there was one sadhu like that, and people were saying, Sita Ramabhyam Namaha. The dual case, the dative dual case will be Bhyam. चतुर्थी का द्विवचन भ्याम होगा. सीतारामाभ्याम नमः. But this fellow did not know what is Sanskrit. What is? So he had a question. He said, I understand what is Sita. I know what is Ram. But what is this Bhyam in between? Namaha means I bow down. Namaha I know. Namaha I know, but what is this Bhyam? Sita Rama Bhyam. So somebody told him, oh, that Bhyam looks like is Hanumanji. So Sad we understand, Asat we understand, Bhyam, what is Bhyam? Bhyam is the dual case of the dative, the dative dual case has got this form as Bhyam. Sat and Asat, or even Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami will have Bhyam. So it is, Tritiya means instrumental case. So this instrumental case, the dual instrumental case will be Sadasadbhyam, cannot be defined through Sat and Asat. So cannot be defined as Sat or Asat. That's why Bhyam. So the Sadasadbhyam Anirvachaniyam. What is the third thing about Ajnanam? Bhavarupam. It is found to be something that is not of the nature of Abhava, but it is Bhava. Bhavarupam. There is something like absence of knowledge, but absence of knowledge is similar to ignorance, but it is not ignorance. Ignorance is something that is experienced as I know this is ignorance. I don't know German language. So I have ignorance of German language. I know this. So there is ignorance. So ignorance, because it is associated with existence, it is bhavarupam. And the fourth thing is jnana nivartyam, that it can be refuted, it will be removed, annihilated, mitigated by knowledge. So that which can be removed by knowledge is definitely not real. Like the knowledge of the rope removes or destroys the serpent. Knowledge of the shell destroys the silver. The silver is no more found, gone. So that which can be removed by knowledge, what is its status? Not real. So ignorance is jnana nivartyam. So what all things now have gone into defining ajnanam? Trigunatmakam sadasadbhyam anirvachaniyam bhavarupam and jnana nivartyam. So achetanam is beginning from ignorance up to all the objects which require illumination. And therefore, this is what is achetanam. In understanding achetanam, we had to understand ignorance. And now, so we are introduced to this ignorance. This ignorance has got two aspects. Ignorance has got two aspects. One, because English we don't have another word. Okay? That's why we will have to use only the Sanskrit word. Maya and avidya. What are these two aspects of ignorance? Maya and avidya. Now we already know that ignorance is trigunatmaka. Ignorance is consisting of sattva, raja, and tama. These three gunas, they have an interplay. What is their interplay? That one rises to suppress, subjugate the other two. So sattva guna rises to subjugate rajo guna and tamo guna. Sometimes the rajo guna rises and subjugates the sattva guna and also subjugates the tamo guna. Okay, you will experience this. Let us say sometimes when you are angry, now there is this agitation. It is rajoguna. At that time, are you able to stay peaceful? समझदारी आती है क्या? तब समझदारी कहाँ तेल लगाने चली जाती है पता नहीं. है शांति है तब नहीं होती. So now you can see the rajoguna has risen so much that it has subjugated the sattva guna. And when you are agitated, now somebody tells you, okay, never mind, go to sleep. Sleep, he has insulted me so badly. I have lost all the sleep. So do you even have that tamoguna? No. So now you find that the rajoguna also subjugates the sattva guna and tamo guna. So we can see that there is an interplay of these gunas. We are now going to say what is Maya and what is avidya. If you have understood this much about the gunas, because these gunas is the body of ignorance. This is what ignorance is. So Maya. What is Maya? Shuddha sattva pradhanam. So when the sattva guna remains predominant and rajoguna and tamoguna are subjugated, are in the service of the sattva guna. They should be in the service of the sattva guna. Not that the sattva guna should be in the service of rajoguna or tamoguna. When these two are subjugated, are in the service of the sattva guna, this state is called as Maya. Shuddha sattva pradhanam, where the sattva is not contaminated by rajoguna and tamoguna. What is avidya? Avidya means, we will keep the word avidya as avidya, okay? Because now if I say avidya also means ignorance, you will have a problem. Oh, ignorance has two aspects. One is Maya, other one is also called as ignorance. So let us keep the word avidya for now. Avidya means malina sattva pradhanam. Sattva is there. Sattva guna is there. But how is that sattva guna? It is contaminated by rajoguna and tamoguna. Where the rajoguna and tamoguna contaminates the sattva guna, it is called as malina sattvam. So what is Maya? Shuddha sattvam. And what is avidya? Malina sattvam. Okay? Malina sattvam. This is one explanation about that. Ajnanam, and two aspects of ajnana. Then he says, this is one kind of explanation about the ajnanam bifurcating as Maya and avidya. Yet there is another way in which the ignorance and its function can be understood. How? This ajnana se shakti, there is a shakti. Let me see if you people remember the definition of word shakti. Is there anybody who's attending presently? Does anybody remember the definition of word shakti? You can switch the mic on if you need. सो गए क्या सब लोग?
आवरण शक्ति and विक्षेप शक्ति.
अरे भाई वो तो शक्ति के प्रकार हुए. What is Shakti? What is Shakti? I mean, you know, when the word Shakti is also used, then people get into some sort of esoteric thing. I don't know.
Karyanukula Karananishta Samartha.
Very good. Karyanukula. कहाँ गया वो बंद कर दिया.
कारण निष्ठा.
कारण
निष्ठा. निष्ठ कारणनिष्ठ सामर्थ्य.
हाँ, कारण निष्ठा नहीं हो सकता.
कारणनिष्ठ सामर्थ्य.
हाँ, वेरी गुड. कार्यानुकूल कारणनिष्ठ सामर्थ्यम अथवा कार्योत्पादन योग्यता शक्ति. Okay. It is a yogyata. It is a capacity. Capacity to samarthyam also means capacity. It is the capacity to create the effect. Now, this capacity to create an effect, when rests in any object, this object is going to be called as karana. So this becomes the cause, and this cause brings out the effect. So the cause has the capacity. This capacity which is resting in the cause, karana nishtha samathyam. This capacity is called as Shakti. Okay. So ajnana se Shakti. So ajnanam has some capacity. The ajnanam has a capacity, then it naturally should create some effect. What is the effect of that? Jnana Shakti, what is that? Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. How is this? What is that Shakti? Capacity of that knowledge. One of the Ajnanam. What is that? What is that capacity? We are going to say Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Now you see, even the Jnanam and Kriya, both of these are the Shaktis, are the capacities of Ajnanam only. Now we are not talking about this Swarupa Jnanam. Yet Swarupa Jnanam is something still different. We are talking about, so Jnana Shakti means the capacity to know. The capacity to know. Kriya Shakti means the capacity of action. Okay, Kriya Shakti. How is that? Rajastamobhyam anavibhutam sattvam is called as Jnana Shakti. That sattva meaning sattva guna, that sattva guna which is not dominated, which is not subjugated by the rajoguna and tamoguna, is called as Jnana Shakti. What is Kriya Shakti? Kriya Shakti means Satvena Anavibhutam Rajastamasi. Rajastamasi is also a dual case. Tamasi Dirgha. Tamasi Rajastamasi. Satvena Anavibhutam Rajastamasi. Kriya Shakti. That when the Rajoguna and Tamoguna are not dominated by Sattva Guna, that itself is called as Kriya Shakti. What is Jnana Shakti? Sattva which is not dominated by Rajoguna and Tamoguna is called as Jnana Shakti. What is called as Kriya Shakti? Sattva, Rajoguna and Tamoguna not dominated by Sattva Guna is called as Kriya Shakti. Remember this. Rajastamobhyam anavibhutam sattvam Jnana Shakti. Sattvena anavibhutam Abhibhuta means not some sort of bhoot preta. Abhibhuta means to dominate. Dominated, not to dominate. To dominate will become, it will be a different word. Abhibhuta means dominated. To dominate means abhibhava. This is abhibhuta. With the use of different prefixes, how the words are change their meaning. Like the word will be, like over here, abhibhuta is the word. So bhuta, you keep the word bhuta as it is, and then there is the prefix abhi. Now change the prefix and bring a prefix para. Para. Parabhuta. Meaning changed or not? One is dominated, the other meaning will be lost. Parabhuta. Parabhuta. So we are not doing Satvena Anabhibhutam. Now there are two prefixes, An and Abhi and Bhutam. Anabhibhutam will mean not dominated by. Sattva guna, not dominated by Rajoguna and Tamoguna, is called as the Jnana Shakti. Tamoguna and Rajoguna, or Rajoguna and Tamoguna, not dominated by Sattva guna, is called as Kriya Shakti. This Kriya Shakti further bifurcates into Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Means the capacity to conceal and the capacity to project. Avarana means concealment. Vikshepa means to project, to throw forth. So here it is, the Kriya Shakti further bifurcates into what? Avaranam and Vikshepa. So Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. This is how the Ajnanam is being explained. How was it in the first explanation is Ajnanam bifurcates as Maya and Avidya. If this is acceptable or if this does not become cognizable to you, he gives you Athava, an option for one to understand it in yet another way. Ajnanam has got this two Shaktis, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Kriya Shakti further bifurcates into Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. What is this Avarana Shakti? What is this Vikshepa Shakti? Can this also be explained in terms of the gunas? Yes, it can be. Then please explain in the next class. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Mahadeva. Mahadeva.